Hello everybody, I hope you're doing brilliantly. So today I'm going through question 4 on language paper 1 for AQA, and this is worth a quarter of your marks on the entire paper. So that sounds really scary. All it means is you have to know how to answer it, which is exactly why I'm doing this video. Okay, so let's have a look at what you actually have to do. So, worth 20 marks, of course the entire paper is worth 80. You have to think about how you evaluate. And when I say to students, what do you think evaluation actually means? They often say, your opinion or agreeing or disagreeing, and that is absolutely right. What you also have to do is you have to say why. You have to back up why you think a certain thing. So they'll say to you, a student said, blah, 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 about anything in the text, and then you have to decide whether you agree or disagree. Usually it's easier to agree. If you want to partially agree, that is fine as well, but make sure you know how to do it and know how to back it up. So, here are some examples from previous papers. Like I said, it would be a student said, and then a statement. Usually they're quite simple actually, and usually they do agree, or generally they're not very debatable. So things like, this part of the story where the hyena behaves wildly is funny rather than frightening. So the hyena is just running in circles at this point. If you are a current year 10/11, since this is uploaded in summer, then you probably sat this as a mock, which means that you're probably quite familiar with it. But that doesn't mean that you should kind of lay back and relax, because obviously this isn't going to be the exam question. You need to practice. You need to practice with what the potential question is going to be, which is why I've given you loads and loads of other examples as well. I will put in the description the link to the AQA website so you can have a look at these. So how do we approach it? Well, in this one we have a student said, a statement, of course, which is, what it's going to be every single time. And like it says here, we're going to want at least 3 paragraphs, which means we need to have 3 points. We need to make sure that we split this into 3 different sections. That can be agree and disagree, maybe partially agree as well. Or what I like to do, what I tell my students to do generally, is to split up the actual statement and find quotes to support it or to not support it, if that is the case that you're arguing. But yeah, let's sort of pick this apart together and see how we're going to do this. So, an extract I love to teach is an extract from Jane Eyre, and I think it is a fantastic extract when you're thinking about, symbolism and all the language techniques really, and often actually structure techniques as well. But it's a little bit different for question 4, of course, because in question 4 you can use both language and structure to back up your point. A student said, in this extract, it is clear that Jane is a victim, but she exaggerates the negativity due to her jealousy of the rest of the family. So if you've read Jane Eyre, then you'll know she is very young at the beginning of the book, and she feels very victimised, and that is essentially what they're talking about here. So I will go into the extract, I'll also link it below, and we'll have a look at maybe why she's feeling like this. So I've split this into 3 sections. We've got Jane is a victim, she exaggerates negativity, and she's jealous. So in this little extract, it's a little bit of an eyesore, but hopefully you see what I mean. So the blue is where Jane is acting as a bit of a victim. She's acting though, so she's exaggerating the negativity. What she's doing is she's aligned herself with the slave, you can see that. She's anaphoraing, that's not a word, but you know what I mean. She's using anaphora, all, to exaggerate what's going on. And this series of rhetorical questions as well to exaggerate. A series of rhetorical questions is called a PEEZI. That's a term you can use if you want to. So these are all things that show that she is kind of maybe exaggerating, a little bit at least. The pink though, is about how she is a victim. And she is kind of a victim. We've got the fact that there's violent tyranny, there's pride, all of that kind of thing. And she was termed naughty and tiresome, sullen and seeking from morning to noon and noon to night. And that is parallelism. So we can talk about that. She is talked about through parallelism as a victim, pretty much. And then lastly, we have the green bit, green for symbolising jealousy. So this shows how she's jealous of the rest of the family. So she talks about Eliza, who's headstrong and selfish, but she's respected. So she's respected, and that is something she is not. So she maybe is a bit jealous. And Georgiana, who had a spoiled temper, also was beautiful. She has pink cheeks and golden curls, which is something that Jane does not have. She's referred to as very plain. So what we've done is we've picked out some quotes that emphasise that she we agree with the statement, essentially, and all of that stuff backs up what we're going to talk about. So let's have a little look at the mark scheme. Right at the bottom, obviously nothing to reward. It's almost impossible to get that unless you literally don't write anything. I'm going to bump straight up to level 2 because we're more ambitious than level 1. So level 2 is some evaluation. You make a bit of a response to the focus of the statement. So you maybe go on a bit of a tangent, you're not very concise. Maybe you show some understanding of writer's methods. So this one, as an example, the writer chooses the simile like a homemade Cinderella costume to describe her clothes. And yes, it is a clear reference to a fairy tale character, but really what does that mean? Why does the writer use it? It's barely talked about, and there's not too much detail in there. And there are evaluative comments, but they're not very detailed. So I think that Rosie is imagining the girl because the things that she is noticing about her point towards her not being real. Fine, that is absolutely fine, but we need a little bit more. We need more to back it up, which is what we're going to look at. In level 3, we are clearly and relevantly responding to the focus of the statement. So we say, as we move towards the end of the extract, of course you're going to have line numbers. It seems less and less likely that there's a rational explanation for the sighting of the stranger child, and the writer emphasises this by portraying her as a fairy tale character. So immediately we've got a topic sentence, we've got detail, we've set up our argument, we've said this is what I'm going to argue. And then we go straight into our writer's methods, and most of this is about what the writer actually means. We're understanding that the writer has made a choice to affect the reader, and this is where we've got a lot of the effect on the reader as well. Very, very similar in level 4, but this time it's developing a convincing response. And a convincing response is something that actually convinces the examiner, pretty much. And it evaluates critically the effect on the reader, which basically means you have developed a critical voice, so maybe there is something slightly different to just analysing what's going on. A reader familiar with fairy tales knows that they are characterised by sudden disappearances and unexplained events. You're bringing in other knowledge that you know, and it can also be when you chuck in things like interestingly or undoubtedly or unusually. I often say that adverbs are the best way to do this, to evaluate critically, because that is an opinion and you can't fault that. So we have our colour-coded, beautiful looking paragraph all the way back here. And of course it's a bit of an eyesore, but if we move back to our easy peasy paragraph, so we've got point, evidence, explain, zoom in, and implication. So our zoom in is just choosing another quote and making a more detailed point, or it can be sort of looking deeper into a certain quote where you maybe focus on one word or a certain pairing of words or something like that. Similar with implication. So this is how I'd write this. I know it's in a table, but this is how you would also write it if it was a paragraph. So our point is our topic statement pretty much, and we are focusing straight on the question. As the student notes, it is clear being a critical evaluation. It is clear that the narrator of the extract is suffering due to being in a family that dislikes her and does not respect her. So what we're doing is we are focusing on our kind of victimization, the fact that there's a victim in the story, rather than, you know, any of the other stuff that we had planned. So this is just one paragraph out of 3 that you would do. So yeah, immediately there we've hit our topic sentence, we've critically evaluated, we've focused on the statement, we've also said underneath, this is shown in the quote where she suggests that her mind is like a dark deposit in a turbid well. So then you explain it. This simile suggests through the adjectives dark and turbid that she is uncertain of her circumstances and cannot see a way out. So maybe it's symbolism as well, you could put that down. As well as this, the comparison to the well implies that her mind is a deep and inescapable place. So yeah, pretty much we've got a whole analysis there. And now we're gonna zoom in. So we're going to say alongside this comparison, there is a series of rhetorical questions, which is the PEEZI that I brought up before. And then we say what that implies. So it reinforces the tone of uncertainty and disorientation in the current situation, which shows that she is suffering even if she does exaggerate it. And what we've got there at the end is we've got a really good opportunity to move into the next paragraph. So you know how some schools they do PEEL paragraphs, which the L is the link. You can then sort of move into your next paragraph and say, on this point, you know, exaggeration, and then go into your paragraph about exaggeration. Anyway, I hope this has helped. It's very important you know your question 4, because question 4 is a quarter of the paper, as I keep saying, and potentially the hardest. Because it is not just, you know, analysing, it's a little bit different. And it is something that is definitely a valuable skill once you get to the higher levels if you're going to continue with English. Arguments are definitely something that are worth learning how to do. And not even just in English, it's in other subjects as well. And I'm sure there are other resources on YouTube as well to help. Anyway, I'm the tea teacher and I hope you found this useful. I will see you next time.